What is up, everyone? I just want to stop by super quick to say thank you all so much for the support so far. I think we're almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is absolutely insane, and we're at like 800 something. So anyways, let's get it to the 1,000 real quick. I know we can do it. Absolutely insane. I didn't think that we would get anywhere near this close this quick. So again, super grateful. Tonight's going to be low-key. We're just going to be playing some 1-2 down at the Coconut Creek. So not too much more to be said, y'all. Thank you all for tuning in once again, and I'll see you at the poker room. Let's go. Alright, y'all, so within the first 30 minutes, we literally didn't play a single hand. VPIP, literally zero. So, we are playing 8-handed, and we do end up buying for $200. But anyways, when we look down at the beautiful ace 4 of hearts in middle position, I decided to bump it up to 10 after getting a limp. This looks like pocket aces to me, so I was more than ecstatic to see a suited ace after being card dead for so long. Anyways, the hijack is not fazed by my raise as he goes ahead and bumps it up to $25. This is extremely strong as the table obviously knows that I have not been playing nearly any hands. So when it folds back around to the +1 player and he calls, I figure that I'm probably well behind at this point, but we are playing fairly deep for the 1-2 game, and I decided to tag along as well, getting decent odds. So looking to improve in a flop, which does not come in the form of jack high, so we have absolutely nothing besides some backdoor draws and an overcard. I'm going to see a free turn, which is not the case as the +1 player decides to lead for 15. I just let it go, and sure enough, he actually had pocket nines and ended up turning quads, so nice answer. In this next hand, we look down at King 10 offsuit, and we are in middle position as well. At this point, we're playing 6-handed, so this is a good candidate to raise after getting a limp. And that raise doesn't go too far as the cutoff does call. So going heads up to a flop, which comes down ace high, so we have absolutely nothing besides a raging advantage. So that's what we use as I go ahead and lead out for $15, and sure enough, he folds. Uneventful, but happy to take it down. In this next game, we look down at 6-7 of spades in the hijack. Very fun hand to play, so I decided to raise it up to $10, and we go ahead and get 4 callers. So looking on a flop that we can improve on, which does come in the form of 6 high with a gutter and a backdoor flush draw. So this is essentially the best flop that we could have asked for. So when action starts with me, I decide to bet $25 as I feel like I could get called by a pretty wide range, as this doesn't really connect with my perceived range. So sure enough, the cutoff decides to raise me to $75. I really don't know what to think about this. This is the same player that raised me in the previous hand, and he did show strength as he did in fact have pocket aces. So I'm thinking he is pretty strong, but at the same time, we are literally at the top of our range in this exact hand. So I decided to make the call. He only has around $50 behind, so basically making this call, proceeding on nearly every turn. And one of those turns that we will in fact be proceeding on is the 4 spades. So we pick up a flush draw along with a straight flush draw. So any 5 spades will give us the absolute nuts. So I go ahead and check, and sure enough, he jams, we snap it off. And looking to either hold or improve on the river, which does come in the form of another 7. So we have top 2 pair now. And he shows a 3, so I table my hand assuming that we're good, but unfortunately I did not see that he also had another 3 behind that card. So kind of unfortunate. It wasn't a slow roll, I just truthfully didn't see it on my part. So anyways, donk off a little bit, and we rebuy for 200 after that one. So in for 400, we look down at pocket 10 shortly after that previous hand. We're in +1, we get a limp to us, certainly raising this up. We bump it up to $12, and we go ahead and get 2 callers. So going 3 ways to a flop, which comes down jack 10-9. So we bink our set, but this is the most vulnerable, ugly set possible. When action starts to me, this is a spot that I can be sizing up on a lot. So I go ahead and bet $30, nearly whole pot. And we do in fact get a call from the cutoff. So happy that this pot is bloating up, but we are looking to either improve or hold on the turn. So the turn is fairly safe. It is a 7 of clubs. I don't know how many 8s are going to be in her range or how many 8s would even be continuing on this flop. So when action starts to me, I go ahead and check it. I think I could be firing, but sure enough, she does check back. The river is another safe card. It's another 5. So action starts with me again. I check it with the plan on calling because I think her range consists of blessed draws for the most part. And that is what happened. She bets 47. We snap it off. And to our surprise, which is a hand that I would never have expected, she goes ahead and tables a7 of diamonds. So she was floating with absolute air. And our line that we took definitely got us paid the most. So happy that we take down a decent pot. So with our stack up to around 300, we look down at pocket 7s in the small blind. There's 3 limps to me. Definitely want to be bumping this up for value, so that's what I do. I raise it up to $15, and we do get 2 callers. So looking to see a flop that we improve on, which does not come. The flop comes down queen 10-5, so we don't have much besides some backdoor draws. So when action starts to me, I like to slow it down and just start with a check, and to my surprise, action actually checks around. So I figured any queen would be taking a stab at this board just being so connected. Going through ways to a turn in which comes down a 10. So now we have 2 pair, and when action starts to me, I elect on a check. I don't think there's too much merit in betting, and sure enough, action checks around. The river is a 6, so this is an interesting card. I'd imagine any queen or 10 would bet on previous street, so when action starts to me, I think I want to squeak out a little bit of value. I bet $15, and unfortunately everyone folds. Happy to take down this pretty small uneventful pot. So at this point in the night, we are playing 6-handed. So when I look down at ace deuce in the big blind and there's 4 limps to me, I kind of want to squeeze it out. So I bet $20, try to fold out all the limpers, but that does not get too far as the middle position player does call. So she's been playing fairly tight, so putting on a tight range. But when the flop comes down ace high, there's no need to really worry as we do have top pair. But at the same time, I think that she should have some aces in her range too. So I looked on a check, and sure enough, she checks back. So feeling much better around my weak ace. So when the turn comes a 6, this shouldn't have helped anyone. So now going for a little bit of value, I bet $15, and sure enough, she makes the call. So her just flat calling eliminates any 2 pair combinations. So when the river comes another 6, I want to get some more value. I go ahead and bet $25, but unfortunately she probably had a busted draw. She lets it go. Happy to take down another uneventful pot. In this next hand, there's a under the gun straddle. We look down at 8-6 of clubs on the button. There's a limp to us. We decided to just limp it. We certainly could be squeezing this hand, but I want to take the low variance route. Sure enough, the big blind calls and the under the gun player checks. So the flop's pretty good. It gives us a flush draw and a pair of 6s. So the big blind leads for $10. This is a spot I could certainly be raising, but we already have a good amount of showdown value. So I elect on just a flat call, and everyone else calls besides the middle position player. The turn brings no help. It's a 4, and action checks to me. This is a spot with a pair of 6s. I think I could be checking, but for some reason, I like to bet $30. Even if we get called, we have a decent amount of outs. And sure enough, the under the gun player does in fact call. The river's ugly. The river is a king, so any 9-10 got there. And sure enough, she leads for $50. And having club blockers, I put her on almost always a straight draw or maybe a hand that just improved to 2 pair. So I let it go, and our read was correct as she shows 9-10. So we bet when we were ahead and didn't when we were behind. Unfortunately, in this hand, we only got recording on the second half of it. Anyways, there is a button straddle, and we are under the gun, and we look down at Jack 10 offsuit. Both the blinds call, and this is a hand playing fairly deep. I have around 320 in my stack. I think I want to be putting in a raise. I bump it up to 25, and sure enough, that raise doesn't get too far as we go ahead and get a call from the middle position player, and then also the small blind player decides to tag along as well. Looking to improve on a flop, which comes in 7, 8, 9 offsuit. No joke, we flopped the absolute nuts, And sure enough, when action checks around to me, now is a question on what sizing I want to be betting. I elect on $30, probably a bit on the smaller side, but it does not matter as the small blind player, the middle position player raises up to $100, leaving him with around 200 behind. So now it folds back around to me, and it's a question whether or not I want to be raising or just flat calling. This player's been playing extremely straightforward, so I think a jam he'd call most of the time. That's what I do, and sure enough, he snaps it off. So looking to hold or improve on a turn, which comes a queen, and the river's ugly. It's another 10, so any jack is going to be chopping. But luckily, it doesn't come down to that as he rolls over pocket 8. So our read on the situation was correct, and if I were to flat call, that turn definitely would have slowed down some action. And river. So certainly happy to jam it in at that moment, and we take down a significant pot. That was the last hand that I played of the session, or I did play a few more, but they were extremely uneventful. So after that guy left, who we just stacked, the table broke shortly after, as we were only playing 4 or 5 handed, and we happily take down a decent profit. So we were in the game for 400. We ended up cashing out for 660-ish, so a profit of 260. Just wrapped up the session. That was a test of patience, to say the least. I was card dead for the first 2 hours or so, and all it took was that one cooler of a hand in order to put us in the green. So I was in for 400, out for 660, so a profit of 260 in around 3 hours. I'm gonna celebrate by having some Mentos, 100% the most underrated candy on the market. Anyways, y'all, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. I will greatly appreciate it. And then if you can subscribe, if you want to subscribe, I'm not gonna force you. That would also be greatly appreciated. Anyways, boys, I will see y'all in the next one.